necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall, and we, of course, welcome you to the program this morning. Quite a lot to look at here today. And of course, we are the number one gospel station in Jamaica, and a special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live in the main watch today. Improving the island's export prospects. And in the second watch, some buildings are said to be too high for aircraft flying across Jamaica. In our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on all high-rise buildings going up around Jamaica? What are your thoughts on all the high-rise buildings going up around Jamaica? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, here's our quote.
The pessimist sees a difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. Winston Churchill.
Well, try to see the best in everything, and everything give thanks. The main watch will be back after this break.
With their versatility and timeless appeal, tiles can give color, texture, and a fabulous finishing touch to any space. And at Active Home Center, we have the best selection of tiles at affordable prices. Shop a wide selection of floor and wall tiles to add style and personality to your bathroom, kitchen, living room, and even your outdoors. Come in and let our experts show you how to make your designs come alive with the right tiles. Visit us at 84 Constant Spring Road. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
DJ Bounce. Digicel and make we rich together.
Make we rich together with Digicel. Just call 142 or dial star 142 number sign from your postpaid phone for a chance to win your share of $42 million in cash and prizes. Enter to get $500 off your monthly postpaid bill and 10 international minutes to USA, Canada, and the UK. Each entry costs $100. From now until September 14th, make we rich together with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Seniors, the first payment under the new social pension program will be paid on July 22. If you qualify for a benefit and submitted a completed application before June 30, your payment can be collected beginning July 22. Check your text messages to confirm your payment arrangements. For further information, call 876-922-8007 or check the ministry's website, mlss.gov.jm. The Social Pension Program, caring for our elderly. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
When all is done and said, love me shorty bread. You love me shorty what? You love me shorty bread. And it was made by honey bun. You love me shorty bread.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are now in the main watch. Now, there is a recent news report that was jointly undertaken by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, which has found that Jamaica is missing out on more than $80 billion in untapped trade. Why are we missing out on that money, and how can we improve the island's export prospects. We have online to discuss this Mr. Rudy Robinson. He's an industrial engineer and he was formerly employed to the a company here in Jamaica that was really played a pivotal role in enhancing exports for persons who wanted to export products from the island. Many people might recall the JIDC, yes, and he acted in an advisory role to many exporters while employed there at the time. We also have online this morning Rita Hilton, CEO of and owner of Carita Jamaica Limited, and they are engaged in the export of fresh produce. Good morning, Miss Hilton. Good morning, Mr. Robinson. How are you both today?
Fine, thank you. Good morning, Stokely. Morning, Roddy.
Hi, good morning,
We have
Susan. Good
Mr.
morning, Stokely.
Robinson.
Yes, can you hear me?
We
Good.
might
Yes,
make a slight adjustment shortly because I think I'm having a huge challenge hearing both of you. I hope you're hearing me though.
clearly.
I'm hearing you both clearly. Yes. Good
Wonderful.
morning.
I'm going to start with Miss Hilton. You are actually out there engaged in the export sector as a business owner, manager of your own enterprise. How does this whole matter strike you of Jamaica missing out on the tune of $80 billion in untapped trade? Is it that maybe you could be getting some of that $80 billion in terms of enhancing your own exports as an exporter? How does it strike you, ma'am? And why is it that we appear as an island to always sort of be catching our tails when we realize that we are missing out on something like this?
Stokely, I think there are many factors, and we could talk about these issues for a long, long time, not this tiny slot that you have. Um, we find that we do not have enough production to meet the demand from the overseas buyers in a number of uh, categories. Our chief export here is the yams, the tubers. And Jamaica has a unique position that it is a large producer of yellow yam. But we have other yams too that are in demand: sweet yam, yampi, negro yam, lucy yam. But there's simply not enough production, consistent production. Sweet potatoes are another item that have crossed the ethnic lines and into the wider market. There's a huge demand for our mangoes. You will recall that Jamaica is recently certified to export mangoes to the USA under the irradiation program. Well, the first year we did 3,000 boxes. Last year we did 9,000 boxes. And this year we did 18,000 boxes. And we have not even scratched the surface of the demand. One of the problems is there are not enough certified farmers, no orchard production, trees are widely scattered, farmers don't practice the safety of spraying, cleaning up the orchards, and cleaning up their farms. And so we're just catching up. I don't know if it is because we don't have a firm agricultural policy that we know that agriculture can lift this country out of poverty, can create so many sustainable jobs, can create so much wealth for this country. It saddens me. The potential is there, and there are many underlying factors. No research facilities adequate to meet the needs of this sector of the industry. But primarily, I would say that we have not allocated enough resources and support mechanisms to the sector. So not only can we feed ourselves in many areas, of course, there are some areas which we will not compete, like growing wheat, like for flour. But then we can use gluten-free flour from cassava, sweet potato, breadfruit. So much of that crop goes to waste because it cannot be collected. It's so scattered. It's so widespread. So we need to focus on production in areas where collection and logistics make it easy to collect. So yes, we can tap into this market with the fresh produce sector with value added. We shouldn't be exporting turmeric in the raw state, we should be adding value to it and not importing value-added products like turmeric capsules or turmeric powder, if you get what I mean. And so the story goes on and on and on.
Very interesting. Bringing in here Mr. Rudy Robinson. As I said before, he was employed to the JIDC, which of course means the, well, Jamaica Industrial Development Corporation, where he had advised exporters at the former 807 Garment Manufacturing Program and advised in other exporting sectors as well. Mr. Robinson, how does all this strike you? We have heard from an exporter herself, Miss Hilton.
Miss Hilton is absolutely correct. She sees it. She's in the business. She knows it, and I agree with her completely. But my role is to bring the appropriate technology to a problem. In the case of agriculture, we are really using growing methods which date back to the time of basically slavery. Right? We do the way we plant our fields, the way we reap our crops. It's not conducive to export. Let me just give a quick example. In the old days, in the plantation days, the ships from Europe would come once or twice a year. And so you would plant your crops such that you would reap just before those ships arrive. And so you have this big planting, all the farmers, everybody planting all at the same time. And then you have a big reaping and everything goes off to the wharf and everything goes on the ship and then it goes out. We still grow today in the same exact way. You can't do that anymore. Because in today's world, and Miss Hilton will tell you, she needs to export, send out a trailer probably every week. She can't get that demand. The farmers are still growing all at the same time. So she's going to get a glut of yams and so on, all at once. Everybody bringing in yam to her. She can't, the price of it's going to fall because of the supply and demand, right? And a lot of it is going to waste, right? And so the very foundation, the way we grow things has to be looked at. The technology that we use to grow things has to be looked at. We can't, this whole dig yam hill thing in a field, it can't continue. It can't continue, right? We were discussing yesterday hydroponics, and I'll explain to your viewers quickly what hydroponics is all about. Basically, you take some pipes or tubes, and you run water through those tubes, and you make holes in the pipes, and you put your crop in a little container in those holes. So the roots of the crop are in the water, right? You add your nutrients to the water and the water is circling, going around in a circle. You have a little pump, like a fish tank pump, and the water is circling through these pipes 24 hours a day. Now, using that system, right? And people tend to get caught up in the technology, but I'm not really interested in the technology right now. But using that system,
yeah.
A friend of mine, who I'll mention him because he was actually awarded for growing lettuce. He was able to grow 10 times the amount of lettuce in the same space he was growing using the traditional method, using hydroponics, right? Orville McFarnell. And I worked with him on that project through the Montego Bay Community College, because I'm in Montego Bay, right? He can now, and then I showed him how to do what I call staggered production. Don't plant everything one time, right? I can give you the cycle, those who understand agriculture. Lettuce takes 3 months to grow. And so if you have
Mr. Robinson, you're going to say something now that may take a little while, but we're upon a break.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget it. Listeners, stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, I'll do that.
The town by Phoenix Health Complex and Vision Center, located at Main Street, St. Anne's Bay and Champion Plaza Complex, Falmouth. Your eye care center is 7:15 and a half right here on Family Radio, Love 101.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
Ken Card Christian Fellowship presents 25 powerful professional women of faith in the second staging of Women Arise, July 24 and 25. Their senior pastor of Family Church on the Rock, Dr. K. Joy Keane, founder and the chairperson for the African Women for Jesus, Bishop Dr. Matilda Dar from Liberia, and the former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, Elaine Foster Allen, among many others. Join Women Arise, the anchor host, virtually, July 24 and 25 on all major social media platforms and on MTN TV, Flow Channel 601 and the 671, Digital Channel 19 and the Logic One Limited Channel 745. You can't afford to miss this inspiring conference.
Enjoy the new Protex. Same protection, but now enriched with natural flaxseed oil. Eliminates 99.9% of bacteria naturally. Protex, for the good health of your skin.
Christian Charles has something special for you this and every Friday at 11:45 a.m. Listen to the information carefully, then answer the questions in the Christian Charles Financial Quiz Corner. There is so much to learn and you can win something fabulous from Christian Charles. That's the Christian Charles Financial Quiz Corner, Fridays at 11:45 a.m. Christian Charles, when you think loans, think Christian Charles. And it's on the family station Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the main watch, and our guests are Rudy Robinson, industrial engineer, and he's also, he was formerly employed to the Jamaica Industrial Development Corporation, where he advised in terms of the 807 garment manufacturing program at the relevant time, and also advised other persons involved in exporting. We also have online Rita Hilton. She's the Chief Executive Officer, owner, Carita Jamaica Limited, and of course, an exporter. And the topic we're looking at in this main watch is improving the island's export prospects. Improving the island's export prospects. What are the things that we must do? Now, Mr. Robinson, just before the break, you were going into a bit of information there, giving us some relevant details, and please continue on what you were saying, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I was talking about lettuce. Lettuce takes 3 months to grow. Now, traditionally, if a farmer has, say, 2 acres of land, he's going to plant out the 2 acres in lettuce and have a big reaping 3 months later. One of the things two things that we're doing that I've been working on and have been working to improve that is we use technology. We use hydroponics, which is just water in pipes, and the roots of the lettuce are in those pipes, and they get their nutrients from the water. You add the nutrients to the water, and it just circles. These lettuce grow. We can grow 5 to 10 times the number of lettuce in the same area as you would using the traditional plant it in the field method, because we don't need all of these aisles and stuff. We can put 4 or 5 pipes next to each other. And so you can actually tend all of these lettuce just by bending over a table. So you're not gonna get no backache, you're not gonna get no dirty fingers, you're not using any dirt, right? You can dress up in your Sunday best and you're a farmer. You know, the old ways which everybody is running from, which is reasonable, is to sit in the sun and you're baking and you're sweating and you're dirty. You don't need to do that anymore. So that was the first thing. So we improved the way you grow the things. We improved the amount of lettuce you can grow in a particular area. And then then the next thing was the production aspect of it, the manufacturing aspect of it. I call it manufacturing because everything to me is manufacturing. Don't plant all of the lettuce one time. If lettuce takes 3 months to grow, then you plant 1/3 this month, 1/3 next month, and 1/3 the following month. which means every 3 months you're reaping. Every 3 months you're reaping, for example, right? And if you do that using hydroponics, the facility that we have been testing is now producing 500 pounds of lettuce per week. So if Miss Hilton said, look, I need to export some lettuce, we can actually give her an agreement, a contract. We will supply you with 500 pounds of lettuce every week. She doesn't have to worry about what's going on at the farm. She just has to wait for the truck to come and drop it off, and she packages and exports. That's how we have to get agriculture, right? But there are two things. Yes, you need the appropriate technology, because not all technology is relevant. And you need the production methods, the correct production methods to grow these things. You have to know your crops. The farmers know their crops. Farmers to me are scientists. They know how to grow anything. They know all of the ins and outs. They know when it's going bad and so on. But they don't know production. They do not know production. And so they're stuck in this world of everybody plants at the same time, everybody reaps at the same time, everybody loses money. So in agriculture sector, that's one of the things that would be good. That's one of the things we need to do. And we need to get persons who know how to do that. Persons like myself whose job it has always been to make any industry, doesn't matter the industry, more productive. That's what I do. I apply the appropriate technologies and to that industry, and the industry grows. You know, and this is.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut into what you're saying. Finish.
No, you can go ahead. Go ahead, please.
You know, as you speak, I'm here listening to you, and I am asking myself the question: is a lot of what you're saying, Mr. Robinson, known to most persons in the export sector? And I am hoping the answer is not no, because we are here speaking with Miss Hilton. She has outlined the challenges in terms of, needing enough volume. Here it is, you're offering a remedy. How do we bridge the gap between your advice, Mr. Robinson, and the reality of persons like Miss Hilton? Any thoughts, Miss Hilton?
I think, first of all, we need to find out what the market wants, when the market wants it, and how we can supply consistently in terms of pricing and in terms of volume. We need the research to see what areas in Jamaica grow the products best and create those areas in terms of using the technology that Ruddy is talking about. Too often, farming is considered not a science, but a hobby and a chain of production. The expectation is that it must pay all the bills. It cannot. But we need to be able to get a database. What is in the ground? When is it going into the ground? So we don't have these gluts and scarcities. Right now, there's a huge amount of sweet potatoes in the market. The price of sweet potatoes went up. Everybody went, and it was scarce. Everybody went into the ground. And it is very sad because some of those varieties are not export quality. They don't meet the criteria for export. And I'm flooded with requests from farmers who are producing sweet potatoes. When you ask what variety, everybody says yellow belly. It is not yellow belly. Yellow belly is the flesh. It is not the variety. So to know the variety, you know the standards, and to be able to produce, there's a huge gap, as you say, between the technology and between the production and what the market wants, as well as the policy. We have hotels. It's not, the hotels are an export industry, not only overseas market, because the hotels bring in container loads of lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus. All those things can go into production with the methods that Mr. Robinson is talking about. But now the hotels buy on a bidding war. They bid. How can farmers produce consistently if there is a bidding war and the hotels are buying at the lowest price. So it is
Oh,
a
I
number
see.
of factors that are affecting the production, the quality to meet the demand. And that's why we have these billions of dollars of imports, which can be satisfied by, not completely, by the methods that Mr. Robinson is talking about.
Well, interestingly, the article here from the Gleaner, and listeners can take a look back at it. July 14th, 2021 is the date of that article in the Gleaner. It says $80 billion untapped export potential, and it mentions some specific items or products: rum, coffee, and pastry on the list of market opportunities. I'm sure those are the only opportunities or products that can be exported. Now, if someone is new is coming into the sector, Mr. Robinson and Miss Hilton, or if someone is already in the sector trying to increase their exports, in a few seconds, because we're almost out of time already, what bit of advice or the most important bits of advice would you want to leave with them? Because maybe you can't even say all of them. Mr. Robinson and then Miss Hilton.
Okay. I would tell them, know your industry, know the science behind it, know every aspect of it. The business aspect of it is very important too. Everybody goes into something without studying the business side, right? And as Miss Hilton said, you got to know the market, you got to know the demand, you have to know all of these things. So know the business and know the science, right?
Know the
Get
business and know the
the
science
science
of what you're doing.
of what you're doing. You got to know both. There's no good at this and not good at that. You have to know both.
Understood.
And once you
Oh, sorry, Mr. Robinson.
sorry, that was it. And once you do that, you will have a better chance of success.
I see. Miss Hilton?
I would say align yourself with the market, know the area that you're farming in, and apply the technology and the science that Mr. Robinson is talking about, and align yourself with a market and produce with that market in mind. Don't leave it to chance.
Understood. Neither of you have mentioned this, but I'm going to bring it up. Any of you can answer. Do you think, as a nation, Jamaica, we might be inclined to see ourselves as very small players, so small that we can't, as it were, be head and shoulders with other countries that are also exporting, which may be from what we call the developed world? Do we have a little bit of psychologically, maybe we are a little bit inclined to think we can't do it like them? Mr. Robinson and then Miss Hilton.
There is that psychology that we think we sit down and we wait on foreign technology for everything. If you do a proposal to a lending agency to do a particular project and it differs from what goes on in the foreign world, they're going to say, oh, it can't be done because they don't do that in America, they don't do that in Europe, right? And so we get knocked down at that level, right? We're not allowed to do things. But as far as I'm concerned, Jamaica can feed the world. Jamaica alone can feed the world if we want to.
Okay. Interesting. Miss Hilton, you just heard Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
First of all, please say if you think we can feed the world. Maybe we can. And secondly, the question I raised in terms of the psychology.
The psychology might be there, but Stokely and also Ruddy, I think that brand Jamaica is such a powerful brand that we don't need to feel intimidated by anybody, because people are stealing our brand and marketing their products under the Jamaican brand. So the opportunities are there. I think we should look at things we do well, build the brand, and put the production behind the brand. I am such a firm believer of brand Jamaica. We're a small country. Our brand is global. And so, look at the mangoes themselves. People were taking our mango boxes and mixing our mangoes with mangoes from other countries and selling that mango for $90 a 10-pound box.
Putting
But
their mangoes in our boxes.
Putting their mangoes from other countries into our boxes.
Oh no.
Yes.
But that's how strong the brand is.
Yes.
The box would sell it.
Yes. And then we don't have the production to support it, So
Yes,
what we
it's
do, the
wrong, but
flavor,
it underscores the strength of the brand.
absolutely, and we need
Have
to
to leave it.
capitalize.
Have to leave it there this morning. Very interesting conversation. I think there's more we could discuss. I want to thank Mr. Robinson and Miss Hilton for being with us in this first watch. Very useful information, and thanks for your time. Thanks
You're
for your time and for your very valuable thoughts. We'll be right back on the morning watch. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
JN Auto Loan, helping you on your journey. Roll out and make a statement in your brand new vehicle.
The time by JN will help you find a way is
7:31.
Lasco food drink is everything you need to support your family's nutrition. Have it at home or take it with you every day for all-day energy. Lasco food drink has your favorite flavors, including low sugar options, so you sacrifice nothing. Packed with protein, calcium, vitamins, and minerals, including iron. Lasco food drink is the winning taste and nutrition for your family. Nutrition never tasted so good. Also, try Lasco La Soy as a lactose-free alternative.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for Berger's Shopper Showdown. That's right. Buy any 2 gallons of Berger eligible paints at participating hardwares and the color shop for a chance to win a $200,000 hardware supply shopping spree. Plus $20,000 supermarket vouchers every fortnight. Simply text the code to get your chance. Promotion ends August 14. See press and social media for details. Berger, for lasting beauty and protection.
When all is done and said, me love me shorty bread. You love me shorty what? You love me shorty bread. And it was made by honey bun. You love me shorty bread.
It's back and it's bigger than ever. It's the Fostrich Super Summer Sale, Monday, July 19 to 29, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Get your project started with amazing deals on electrical lighting, LED bulbs, and more. Stuck in the office? Then shop online. Visit fostrich.com/shop and save. It's the Fostrich Super Summer Sale, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay, July 19 to 29. See you there.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Joe Clean Marshall. Now let's take a look at the newspaper to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. We have here in the Lena online, Tufton float idea of mandatory vaccination. And we have also in the Lena, one of the lead stories, reach 2 public bodies, the Airport Authority of Jamaica, AHA, and the subsidiary, violated government regulations in their $443 million investment in startup private equity firm, First Rock Capital Holdings, and the story continues. We now turn to the Jamaica Observer. Latest news include Coleman seeks NTP focus on COVID-19 recovery. We also have drug treatment for valuable, Dr. Chan says. WHO boss says vaccine as a way of not a top. And a bit of sport, Pollard urges smarter backing approach to third. And so coming up next, we'll be retweeting your feedback more cases and WhatsApp questions. What are your thoughts on all the high-rise buildings going up around Jamaica? If you haven't done so yet, you will comment and also live. And also WhatsApp comments and voice notes. So 876-997-3125. Use the hashtag Good Morning Watch right now.
Yo, you didn't hear Wagwan? Alcor gone crazy. Saturday, July 24 and Sunday, July 25. It's the Alcor Massive Crazy Yard Sale.
up to 70% off windows, doors, accessories, and more. Windows as low as 2,000 JA. Yes, it's the massive, crazy yard sale taking place at Alco Windows and Doors, 12 Shortwood Road, July 24 to 25. Some items might be dented, shop worn, or in odd sizes and shapes. Alcor gone crazy. Windows and doors.
What you can see. The Students Loan Bureau turns 50 and it's a golden celebration. Over the years, we've transformed dreams, accelerated change, and contributed to our nation's development.
With SLB, I was able to finance my future, and now my daughter can chase her own dreams.
The Students Loan Bureau has been part of so many success stories, and we are proud to spend the next 50 years promoting equal access to brighter futures. Thank you, Jamaica, for entrusting us with your dreams and for 50 stellar years.
Hey, psst, come closer. I want to tell you my secret. My son wears his favorite shirt for everything. And no matter how much he runs, jumps, and plays, it always looks like new and smells really good. My secret? I use Suavitel Superior Care. Keeps my family's clothes as good as new. Suavitel, as soft as a mother's love.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Sophie Marshall. Let's join Nathan for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp can answer today's question. What are your thoughts on all the highlights that are going up around Jamaica?
Alrighty, so on my side, currently on WhatsApp, I think I have a voice note here from Tracy.
I worked with him on that project.
Good morning, Nissan. While they're discussing growing of these items, these food products, these are the things that make us sick, you know, the hydroponic growing business. Why? Because the natural earth is that is what plants need to grow in, right? Yams and all these things need to grow in the natural earth. You understand? Not growing in water, you had in nutrients and all these things. That's why we are so cancerous and so sick. Because we're eating all these things that are grown in artificial way. Why are they changing up God's earth? Why can't the ground grow the foods? Why this technology thing killing us off? Come on, man. No hydroponic stuff. I don't see that. The earth, the ground, the soil is where our food should be grown in.
All right, that's it from my side, sir. Toss things back into your court.
When all is done and said, love me shorty bread. You love me shorty what? You love me shorty bread. And it was made by honey bun. You love me shorty bread.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. Well, we now move right into the second watch. Now, if you live or work in a building that is 4 or more stories high, it is said that, who knows, you may be in the path of an airplane. Your building may be situated right on the tracks of a railroad, or in some such similar place, you might find out that you are in a building which is breaching certain guidelines. But in terms of high rises, is your building too tall? Is the building that you're in too tall? We have online to discuss this today Dr. Pat Green, lecturer at the University of Technology of Jamaica, and she's an architect of the Caribbean Graduate School of Architecture. We also have online today Mr. Leonard Kelly, president of the Master Builders Association of Jamaica.
Good morning, Dr. Green. Good morning, Mr. Kelly. How are you both?
Good morning.
Good morning, Stokely. Morning, Doc.
Morning, Len, my friend from long time.
Long time.
Yes.
Well, you know, I'm going to jump right to the Jamaica Observer article. And it was published on Thursday, July 15, 2021. I'll read a little tiny bit of it, not too much because of time. It is indicated, I won't read every single sentence, but it's being indicated that buildings which are, let me be more specific here. We in this space have been drawn lately to the matter of building standards, which has been reinforced by the tragic June 24, 2021 collapse of Miami's high-rise Champlain Tower South building at Surfside, Florida, that claimed many lives. And it goes on to continue. The JCAA, the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, needs to approve these buildings. Well, speaking of Jamaica here, and a gentleman who was referred to is reaching out to developers who are planning to do construction in excess of 4 stories. To get in touch with the authority, the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, to ascertain what impact this could have on the aviation community. Dr. Green, why is it so important for developers to contact the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority if they want to construct a building over 4 stories, particularly in Kingston and St. Andrews? Why?
Morning again, listeners. It's the ongoing thing of compliance and approval. It is the law that high-rise buildings should be approved and signed off by the government of Jamaica, the Civil Aviation Department Authority. In fact, I hear the emphasis is being placed on developers, and I can understand. I don't know who is a developer, because Mr. Len Kelly could put up a building tomorrow. I don't know if he would call himself a developer, although he's the president of the Master Builders Association. But the point is that whenever anyone in this country engages an architect and designs any building, there are a number of procedural steps that need to be handled. And in so doing, you submit it to the municipal authority. If it's in Kingston, it's what we used to call KSAC. And then the municipal authority then evaluates the kind of structure and the impact it would have, whether it is environmental, all these different aspects to it, if it's going to impact how the traffic is working on the road, various things like that. Then, depending on the size and scale of development, the municipal authority is empowered under law to submit these designs to the various entities for their approval. And in the case of high-rise, one of the entities that should be sent this approval is the Civil Aviation Authority in Jamaica. Once everyone signs off, then it is returned with a stamp of approval. Go ahead, Stokely. You were saying something.
Well, we're almost up on a break, but I want to bring in Mr. Kelly before the break. Mr. Kelly, how does all this strike you, sir?
Well, Pat is indeed correct. There's a procedure for doing development. A design's done, and those designs are submitted for approval. And any requirements that may have been overlooked on the design side, the planning authorities would indicate. So let us say if the planning authorities will say if you're going over X stories or whatever the height of those stories I really need, that's really what you should specify, because it's about absolute height and not so much about stories. In my mind, that is. And so they would give you the guidance as to where to go. I know at times there may be disconnect between authorities and agencies, and some element of understaffing and that kind of thing. And that's another discussion. Or if you follow through on the procedures. And we can say more in terms of how you deal with heights and who the entities you should you certainly speak to the CAA, and I would encourage you to, as developers, knock on every door, speak to the airport authority, speak to the airports. They have their set of procedures which may vary in bits and pieces, not because you think you're far away means you are actually far away.
And Mr. Kelly.
Can you hold that thought, Dr. Green and also Mr. Kelly? We're upon a break. Hold the thoughts. Let's look at them after the break. We'll be right back on the morning watch.
The spotlight shines bright on the parish of Westmoreland this week. You don't want to miss all the highlights and short bites. Come and learn all you can about Westmoreland this week in the I Love Summer Tour.
Be a part of the I Love Summer Tour. Share something unique about your parish with us here on your family station, Love 101 FM. If you're an advertiser or a small business owner, you need to cash in on the awesome promotional deals available on the I Love Summer Tour. Send your email address and details right now to the I Love Summer Tour at gmail.com. That is the I Love Summer Tour at gmail.com. The tour is going from parish to parish, and we don't want you to be left behind. I love summer. It's time to explore. It's what summer is all about. Send your email address now to the I Love Summer Tour at gmail.com. Brought to you by Love 101 FM, the family station.
There's so much to see.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokely Marshall. We are in the second watch, and we are looking at the whole matter of high-rise buildings. In fact, the topic is some buildings too high for aircraft flying across Jamaica. That's the question. Our guests are, for this segment, we have Dr. Pat Green, and Dr. Pat Green is, in fact, a registered architect, former head of the Caribbean Graduate School of Architecture in the Faculty of the Built Environment at the University of Technology, Jamaica. She is Program Director of the faculty's MPhil PhD in the Built Environment Program and Director of its Downtown Cities Lab at KRC. And we also have online with us Mr. Leonard Kelly, President of the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica. And just before the break, Dr. Green, you were about to say something, but we had to go to the break. Dr. Green, please continue.
Okay, thank you so much, Stokely. And what I wanted to say is that it really is not the number of stories. In speaking with a former chairman of the Airports Authority, the issue is that in this civil aviation network internationally, you have what is called an obstacle limitation chart. In other words, even if your building is 2 stories high and your elevation from the ground would make your building appear much higher, then it means that your building may be an obstacle if it is a 2-story building, and you may be asked to reduce it to a 1 story if it is within a certain proximity to the aerodrome. And so there are specific, what they call in the air, they call it railroads in the air. So they have different lanes of flight paths and traffic. So if you're building a building, let us say in the Red Hills area, and you're going up a certain height, then you may be restricted to a 1 story or a 2 story because Red Hills is in the flight path. But you may put up a 17-story New Kingston, which is outside of that path. So it is not necessarily the height, but it is the height of the building, but it is the height in addition to the elevation, the topography of the land. And then there are conditions which you have to meet as well. Thank you, Stokely.
Very interesting, Mr. Kelly.
Well, airports, General, just following on from what Dr. Green has said, airports have these, to put it simply for the public, these zones around them, there are some defined zones working outwards from the airport, and then with that goes the height. You wouldn't necessarily find an airport just dropped in, and you wouldn't find it dropped in a narrow valley because of these requirements by the International Civil Aviation Organizations. But there are, how your approaches and your departures and structures that fall within that. So as you go further away, there's a kind of absolute height per se from the runway that is defined. So as Pat said, it could be a single story. It could just be your regular 2-bedroom flat, so to speak. And it becomes a problem because it's up on a slope. Now, we tend to think only in terms of physical structures that interrupt those parts. Remember, each airport have some standard approach and departure procedures. So we only think in terms of what might be physically in the line, which is why I suggest to developers knock on every door, talk to the people at the airport closest to you, and you speak to the Civil Aviation Authority. Certainly, I'd encourage you to knock on the door of the Airport Authority. Also, just make sure you are covered, because you're putting in this investment. You don't want to end up in a situation where and it's quite possible you may be led to believe you can go up X amount of stories. Stories are probably 15 feet high stories, I don't know. And then you may find yourself, perhaps with an approval that when tested really shouldn't have been approved. So you want to just make sure that you check all the sources. That is really what I'm suggesting. There's a lot we don't see, and the operators of airports have a lot to say about what should go on outside of the airport, irrespective of how far away you think you might be.
I think that's a very...
Go ahead, Dr. Green.
I just want to reinforce what Len has just said, because you see, the airports, it's not just the proximity. In other words, we have our Norman Manley International Airport here. So you imagine that because you're living in Harborview, you're close to the airport. But no, it goes all the way back up to Barbican, Red Hills, and all these areas. So we are a small island, so everything is close. And for the airplanes, and in addition, we have the helicopters as well. And what happens is that when you build your buildings, it doesn't stop it after the construction. You are required by law to put lights on the tops of these buildings, and there are certain, depending on the proximity to the airport, you would be required to put a red light, which is flashing, or an amber light, a light of so much intensity, depending on the proximity and everything that is involved. So it's quite scientific. And when you take it to the civil aviation, they do this calculation. And I went online and looked at the chart, and it's very sophisticated. And they actually do the calculation to see what the intensity of the impact that your building will have. And based on that, they can tell you the height, they will tell you what kind of warning lights that you have on it, etc. What Len is saying is true. There's a case in Washington where a developer went up too high, and the civil aviation authorities over there, the federal civil aviation authorities, told the developer that he had to come down some floors, and he had to go and modify his building, which cost him over $200 million to do that modification because the authorities told him to do so. Can you imagine that happening in Jamaica, Len?
I was going to touch on that. Is there some sort of checklist available to all these developers so that they don't miss such an important step? It doesn't necessarily have to mean that they deliberately flouted the law. It could be sheer ignorance. Mr. Kelly?
I would imagine NEPA would provide, once you're going past a certain number of units. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the structure you're doing falls under NEPA in terms of permitting, in terms of approvals. It can be the local planning authority, which we call parish councils and municipal corporations. And so, which is why I keep making the point, knock on every door, don't leave any stone unturned.
What I'm suggesting, Mr. Kelly, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but suppose you don't know what every door is to knock on.
That's why you have programs like yours, Stokely.
To bridge that gap, but someone.
And I want to add, may I add?
Yes, Dr. Green, go ahead.
The every door, the procedure for development or any approval system in the construction industry starts with the municipal corporation. Anybody who has any designs, you submit it to the municipal corporation. It is their responsibility to ensure that it goes to the other places. But I think that, as Len was saying, there are many slips and things between the cracks. So what he's saying to you, although somebody is responsible to make sure that civil aviation gets a copy, because you're supposed to submit a certain number of copies of your development proposal. And then depending on the size of it, they send one to Ministry of Health, another one to Ministry of Works, another one to or NWA, another one to Water Commission, another one to Ministry of Health, another one to NEPA, and one should go to Civil Aviation Authority. We need to ask, are they going to Civil Aviation Authority? Are the authorities, whether it is KSAMC or the municipal corporations in general, because we have airports in Portland, airports in St. James, are these being carried to the Civil Aviation Department by the municipal corporation? That's a question that needs to be asked. So what Len is saying, that just in case these things are not being done by the authority, you should walk and make sure it gets done.
Understood. I hear you. I'm just thinking you may have some very, zealous developer who, for whatever reason, doesn't know of a door to knock on. But be that as it may, we're hoping that that gap can be filled, that knowledge gap can be, can be filled in due course, quickly too. Where do we go from here? We are being told that persons who want to do high-rise buildings, they need to be very cautious and careful in how they proceed. Dr. Green, any last word you want to leave before we wrap today, because we're almost out of time?
Yes, I know that one of the areas that people look at for development in our country is Singapore. And there is this kind of emphasis that, Singapore is our size, even smaller, and yet they have all these wonderful high-rise buildings. These high-rise buildings are now needing repairs because they're 40 years, and just like that building that you started with in Miami, everyone is now looking at the repair. We need to be mindful that these high-rise buildings need to be properly maintained. Do we have a system of maintenance, and so on? So we just want to say that, and Singapore has a regulation of the maximum height of high-rise buildings in Singapore in accordance with civil aviation. Thank you.
Indeed, interesting. Mr. Kelly, in a second or two, sorry to cut this is such a short time, but I'm seeing the time ticking away, sir.
All right, Stokely, first up, the issue is not always with permanent structures. Remember, your cranes, you need to put a crane up if you're going up a certain height. You're going to need to make sure you get the necessary permitting from that and consult with the Civil Aviation Authority, because the cranes are usually higher than the building you're going to build. Even though it's there temporarily, we need to be mindful of that. The other thing is we need to also examine planning in a particular way. The city is getting denser and denser. We'll be having more high-rises, and as people get enriched, there may be more of us when the city gets more congested who want to use a helicopter to work. So we may be seeing a requirement for more high-rises with helipads on top, and there's increased air traffic. So it is something I think
we might have some visas that can fly too.
Go ahead, Stokely.
We might have some vehicles that can fly as well. We did a program on that recently. We're looking ahead to what may come in the future.
I would suggest some are already flying. If you drive on the roads in the city, you would
well, let's not go there today. I want to thank you, Dr. Green and Mr. Kelly, for being with us on the Morning Watch. Thanks for your time and for your contribution. Very, very valuable information.
Thank you so much for having us.
Indeed. Thank you all listeners for being with us. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to the family station. Love 101 FM, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Have a blessed weekend. Join the Reverend Dr. Dialogue next week Tuesday as we look at other topical and controversial issues. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guest. I am Stokely Marsh, and get back to Love in the Morning with Neeson. Keep safe.
Thank you. Do have yourself a wonderful weekend, sir.
Indeed, Neeson, indeed.
Listen.